Hello, everyone, and welcome to Healing with Amari. I'm so grateful you're here, whether you're joining me because you're curious about generational trauma, searching for healing, trying to understand your family dynamics, or simply looking for a safe place to grow and reflect. I want you to know that you are welcome here. Healing with Amari was created for people who are ready to break cycles, heal wounds that may have been passed down through generations, and create healthier futures for themselves and the people they love. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge something important. Conversations about trauma can bring up difficult emotions and memories. As you listen today, I encourage you to be gentle with yourself. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and remember that healing is a journey, not a destination. Today's episode is called Understanding Generational Trauma: How the Past Shapes Our Present. Have you ever found yourself reacting to a situation and wondered, why did I respond that way? Or perhaps you've caught yourself repeating behaviors, beliefs, or patterns that you swore you would never carry into adulthood. Maybe you've struggled with setting boundaries, expressing emotions, trusting others, or feeling worthy of love. If so, you're not alone. And there may be a reason that extends far beyond your own personal experiences. Today, we're going to explore what generational trauma is, how it gets passed down through families, the science behind it, and most importantly, what we can do to begin breaking those cycles. Let's get started. What is generational trauma? When people hear the word trauma, they often think about a single painful event. But trauma can also exist within families and communities, quietly influencing beliefs, behaviors, and relationships for generations. Generational trauma, sometimes called intergenerational trauma, refers to emotional wounds, survival patterns, coping mechanisms, and unresolved pain that are passed from one generation to the next. I often describe it as an emotional inheritance. Just as families pass down traditions, values, recipes, and stories, they can also pass down fear, shame, emotional suppression, anxiety, unhealthy relationship patterns, and survival strategies. Many of the behaviors we learn growing up are not things we consciously choose. They're things we observe. They're modeled for us. They're normalized. For example, if your parents were raised in environments where emotions were ignored or punished, they may have never learned healthy emotional regulation themselves. As a result, they may have unintentionally passed those patterns on to their children, not because they wanted to cause harm, but because they could only teach what they knew. Many of our parents and grandparents were doing the best they could with the tools they had available. Understanding generational trauma is not about blame, it's about awareness. Because once we understand where our patterns come from, we gain the power to choose something different. How generational trauma shows up. Generational trauma doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it appears as difficulty expressing emotions, fear of conflict, people-pleasing, hyper-independence, perfectionism, constant anxiety, difficulty trusting others, feeling responsible for everyone else's happiness, believing your needs are less important than everyone else's. Growing up in environments where emotional safety wasn't consistently present can shape how we see ourselves and the world, and many people don't realize they're carrying these patterns until adulthood. Segment 2: The Science Behind Generational Trauma. Now let's talk about something fascinating. Research suggests that trauma may affect families in ways we are still learning to understand. Scientists have studied how severe stress and traumatic experiences can influence gene expression through a field called epigenetics. Epigenetics explores how environmental experiences can affect the way certain genes function without changing the DNA itself. Research involving survivors of large-scale traumatic events and their descendants has shown evidence that trauma can leave lasting biological and psychological impacts across generations. While scientists continue to study these connections, one thing is clear: trauma influences more than individual experiences. It can shape family systems, parenting styles, emotional responses, and relationship patterns. But biology is not destiny. This is important. The same way patterns can be passed down, healing can be passed down too. Healthy communication can be passed down. Emotional safety can be passed down. Resilience can be passed down. The choices we make today have the potential to positively impact future generations. How trauma is learned through family systems. Most trauma is transmitted through relationships. Children learn how to view themselves by observing the adults around them. They learn how to handle conflict, how to express emotions, how to cope with stress, how to communicate needs, how to build relationships. If a child grows up in a home where emotions are dismissed, they may learn that feelings are unsafe. If they grow up in a home where love feels conditional, they may develop a deep fear of rejection. If conflict is met with yelling or silence, they may struggle with healthy communication as adults. Again, these patterns are learned, and what is learned can also be unlearned. Today, we've talked about what generational trauma is, how it gets passed through families, the science behind it, and the role awareness plays in healing. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this episode, it's this: you are not responsible for the pain that was handed to you, but you do have the power to decide what happens next. The cycle can stop with awareness. The cycle can stop with healing. The cycle can stop with you.